The night my father lost everything, the air inside that smoky saloon was heavy with dust, whiskey, and desperation. I remember clutching the shawl tight around my shoulders, my younger sister trembling beside me. The lantern swung above us, casting shadows that seemed to mock our misfortune. My father's voice was hoarse, his hands shaking as he laid down the last of his poker chips. He had gambled away our land, our cattle, and nearly every ounce of pride he once carried. Then, in his final act of desperation, he turned his bloodshot eyes toward us. "Take my daughters as payment," he muttered, words that pierced my heart sharper than any knife. The room erupted in cruel laughter. I felt my sister press into me, her tears soaking through my sleeve, while I stood frozen, my soul caught between fear and fury. Men leaned forward with greedy eyes, but one man at the far end of the table stayed still. He wasn't laughing. He wasn't leering. He was watching quiet, steady, as if the chaos around him meant nothing. That was the first time I saw him. The rancher. His voice cut through the noise like a thunderclap. "That's not a deal," he said, rising from his chair. He stood tall, broad-shouldered, with a calm strength that silenced even the rowdiest cowhands. "You don't gamble away human lives?" The saloon hushed. My father slumped, too far gone in whiskey and shame to argue, but the other men jeered. They called the rancher a fool, said he ought to let the game play out. But he stepped forward, dropped a pouch heavy with coins on the table, and said, "This should settle his debt. The girls go free." He turned to me then. Our eyes met, and in that moment, the world narrowed down to the steady weight of his gaze. For the first time that night, I could breathe. He didn't ask for thanks, didn't linger to bask in gratitude. He just tipped his hat and started toward the door. But something inside me, maybe pride, maybe fear, maybe some wild mix of both, made me call after him. "Why would you do this for us? You don't even know us." He paused, his hand on the door frame, then looked back. "Because I do know what it means to lose everything," he said simply. And then he was gone into the cool night air. The weeks that followed were the hardest of my life. My father disappeared soon after that night, too consumed by his vices to care for us. I was left to protect my sister, to find food, to scrape together whatever work we could manage. The townsfolk whispered behind our backs about my father's disgrace, about how two girls alone couldn't survive long on the edge of the frontier. And maybe they were right. But then the rancher returned. He showed up one evening outside the shabby room we'd rented above the mercantile, holding a sack of flour and a look that wasn't pity so much as quiet understanding. "You can't keep fighting this world alone," he said, his voice gentle. "Come to my ranch. I've got room, and I reckon you both deserve better than this." I should be refused. Pride burned hot in me, and the thought of owing anyone, even him, made me bristle. But then I saw the way my sister's face lit up at the smell of fresh bread he'd tucked in that sack, and my heart softened. We rode with him the next day. His ranch stretched wide under the prairie sky, rolling fields of golden grass, a sturdy barn that smelled of hay and horses, and a cabin that glowed warm against the setting sun. It felt like stepping into another world, one I never thought we'd see. At first, I worked harder than I ever had in my life, determined not to be a burden. I cooked, mended, tended the garden, anything to prove we belonged. He didn't stop me, but neither did he take advantage of our desperation. He worked alongside us, splitting fence posts with sweat on his brow, saddling his horse at dawn, always steady, always kind. And slowly, something began to grow between us. There were small moments, at first a brush of his hand when he passed me a coffee cup, the way his eyes softened when he watched my sister laugh, the rare smile that tugged at his lips when I teased him about his stubborn mule. At night, when the coyotes howled beyond the fence line, I'd sit by the window and wonder why a man like him, strong, decent, carrying the weight of a past he never spoke of, had chosen to step into our lives. But every time I asked, he'd just shrug and say, "A man's got to do right when he sees wrong." One evening, a storm rolled across the plains. The sky cracked open with lightning, rain pounding the earth until the fields turned to mud. Our roof began to leak, and I scrambled with buckets, laughing despite the chaos. Then thunder shook the cabin, and my sister cried out in fear. Before I could move, he was there, lifting her into his arms, calming her with a steady voice, shielding her from the storm. When the lightning lit up his face, I saw something there I hadn't noticed before. Not just kindness. Not just duty. But a tenderness he tried hard to hide. Later that night, after the storm had passed and the world was hushed again, I found him on the porch. The lantern light flickered across his features as he stared out at the drenched land. I stepped beside him, heart pounding, and whispered the question that had been burning inside me. Why us? Out of all the broken people in this world, why save us? He looked at me then, really looked, and for the first time, I saw the weight he carried in his eyes. Because once, he said, his voice low and rough, no one came to save me. I swore I'd never let that happen to anyone else if I could help it. The silence between us stretched, but it wasn't empty. It was full of shared pain, of unspoken hope, of something that felt a lot like love. I don't know who leaned in first. Maybe it was me. Maybe it was him. But when his lips touched mine, soft and searching, I knew the truth. This wasn't a deal, or a debt, or charity. This was two souls, battered by life, finding shelter in each other. In the months that followed, the ranch became our home. My sister found joy again in the open fields, her laughter like music against the wide prairie sky. I found strength I didn't know I had, not just in survival, but in belonging. And my rancher found something too. A family. A future. A reason to believe that not everything the world takes stays gone forever. Sometimes, when I watch the sun sink low and paint the sky with fire, I think back to that night in the saloon, the smoke, the laughter, the crushing despair. I think of the moment a stranger's voice cut through the darkness and changed everything. They said we were nothing but payment. But he saw more. He saw worth. He saw hope. And in the wild, untamed heart of the West, he gave me something I thought I'd lost forever.